So Katie, thanks for joining us here on TheMacLife.com today. The first thing I wanted to ask you was, this is the culmination of an ambition of yours, your stated goal, and you've achieved it within 2.5 years of turning professional. What was it like, first off, in the moment when you realised this has come true, and how does that kind of interact with what you thought it might have felt like?
Well, at the time I was just relieved and delighted. Really, it was such a close fight, but yeah, I think it only hit me really the next day when I was around my family and I had all the fight belts around me, and that, like you said, this is years and years of hard work. I think I started boxing as a 10 or 11-year-old, and all the sacrifices that I made, all the highs and lows and training camps, all the good times and the bad times, it's definitely worth it when I'm looking at these fight belts now. And ever since I did turn pro less than 3 years ago, it was always my goal to become the Undisputed champion. This is the absolute pinnacle of the sport, and it's such an honour to hold these fight belts. And the best thing about it is that I feel like the best is yet to come. People still haven't seen the best of me yet, and that to me is incredible.
So at this stage now, you've won practically everything there is to win in both the amateur and the professional games. Does this, to you, seem like a mental sort of change now, because no longer are you really chasing anything other than, fights or things you might want to get done, but now you're the person that other people are chasing, you have the target on your back. Is there a mental change in how you proceed with your career from this point onwards?
Not really. I think that the mindset is always the same. I prepare like no other person. I definitely don't leave any stone unturned going into these fights, and I want to perform the best and be at my best in every single night when I get into the ring, and it's no different now since I have these fight belts. I know that everyone who gets in and faces me definitely raise their game, and they definitely fight better than they've ever fought before, but I love that challenge. I love being involved in big fights, and I want to make history in this sport, and I want to continue to make history in this sport and break down those boundaries, and I'm definitely in a great position right now. And when I did turn pro 3 years ago, I didn't really know how this journey was going to go. I didn't know how people were going to perceive women's boxing globally. So to see where I'm at now, that I have a chance to even headline in my next fight in New York, we've definitely come a long, long way. So it's absolutely incredible.
And just going back to the fight last weekend, everybody knows it was a close encounter, and you've talked about that numerous times now, so I won't ask you again. But the opponent that you fought, you'd mentioned you'd obviously studied her on tape, and you've also just said as well that your opponents tend to give you an extra maybe 20-25% because they're in the ring with you. How did the Delphine Pursoon that you fought on Saturday night compare to the one that you'd studied on tape?
I think it was pretty much what I was expecting, really. I knew that she was strong, I knew that she was awkward. It's a very hard girl to look well against because of that kind of style. I knew it was a fight where I was going to have to dig deep and show a lot of heart, and I knew I was going to be in the trenches at some stages in the fight, but that's exactly what I prepared for. I'm in the trenches every single day in training. I've had some really, really tough spars to prepare for that type of challenge, so I knew what to expect, and it was exactly how the fight could have went, really. I probably stood there and fought with her a bit too much. I think sometimes I do enjoy a tear up a bit too much, and I definitely should be a bit more disciplined sometimes when I am in the ring, but I do love a good, exciting fight, and I think at the end it was a fight of the year contender. Absolutely, really. So.
Well, it seems like whatever you're doing to this point has worked, so I don't think you should really change your strategy at this stage. There was, obviously New York has a great Irish population there, and there would have been a lot of travelling support coming over from here as well. Were you aware of that during fight week or when you were in the ring as well, or did you just super focus and you're going to have to block everything out?
I'm definitely focused during fight week, but I was aware that the support was going to be incredible, even at the weigh-in the day before. The reaction and reception I got was phenomenal, really, and just seeing all the tricolours around the stage just makes my heart. I'm so proud, really.
Yeah, and Conor McGregor was quite vocal in his support for you both before and after the fight, and going back months and months. I remember the footage of him with you in the dressing room before one of your last fights. What was your perception of that, and did that give you a little bit of a boost going into the fight?
Definitely. I only actually seen his tweet and his support after the fight. Actually, I'm never really too much on social media on fight week, but to get his support is absolutely amazing. He's one of the greatest athletes in the world right now, and the most recognisable athletes, and he doesn't have to support me the way he does, and his support really means the world to me. And the fact that he came to my fight in Boston a few months ago, he really went out of his way to get to that fight and to show his support, and that means everything to me.
And it's oddly appropriate as well that you unified the lightweight division in the same building that he won his lightweight belt and his second UFC title as well. So I think that's oddly appropriate.
Definitely, But the two of us are definitely history makers in our own sport, and what he's done for MMA, he's brought UFC to a new level. Really, what he's done in the sport is absolutely remarkable, and I miss seeing him in the cage. Actually, I can't wait to see him back in there and continue to make history in the way that he has done over the last few years.
One of his stated ambitions over the years has been to one day potentially arrange a fight in Croke Park.
Can you get me in the undercard of that? I'd love to be on the undercard.
I'm sure he'd be fine with that. But you were speaking downstairs and you were discussing about how New York City, particularly Madison Square Garden, is the mecca of boxing, which is true, which is a fair point. But to hold a boxing event within Croke Park with 80,000 plus spectators in your hometown, essentially, that might be right up there with another headliner in Madison Square Garden, right?
That would be absolutely special. That would be an epic night, that's for sure. I haven't had a chance to box in Ireland yet as a professional, so it's definitely on my radar in the future. But to fight in Croke Park, 80,000 people, that's that's absolutely that would be the pinnacle, I think, of the sport. That would be absolutely amazing. I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about that. So,
have you ever I mean, I'm not saying that you've pursued advanced negotiations with regard to a fight in Croke Park, but have you let your management team know that, like, listen, if this opportunity ever even becomes available in any way, shape or form, pursue that immediately? Is that?
I think my team around me are definitely doing a great job, and they would definitely be aware of it. If the fight is happening in Croke Park, they'll be on, they'll be on the ball straight away. So, I leave that stuff up to Brian, my manager, and Eddie Hearn, and I just kind of focus on the stuff that I can control in the ring and with my training. But I'm sure if a fight is happening at Croke Park, I can get in touch with Conor myself and say, listen, Conor, please, you have to get me on that undercard. Yeah.
And I presume at this stage you've seen all the Shane Ross memes that have been going around since you got back into Dublin Airport.
It's been, I love it. Don't you have to love the Irish humour, really. He's getting awful abuse, he's getting sick, and I feel like he's even around here somewhere. But
to recognise this voice from door number 2.
But it's I just love the Irish sense of humour. It definitely makes it, it's obviously very, very funny what's happened over the last couple of days.
Yeah, and just getting back to last weekend for one moment, it's inevitable that yourself and Pursoon will tangle at one stage. Yeah. It looks like, from what Brian was saying, it might be Serrano next, or these things might come, but you figure you'll step in the ring with Pursoon one more time, right? Yeah,
the rematch is inevitable. It was such a close fight, and I know it's a fight that people want to see. This is a mega fight right now, and I think it was a fight of the year contender. I think it will be by the end of the year, a fight of the year. So it is definitely a fight that people want to see, and I want to be involved in fights that people are interested in, and that's going to be a mega fight down the line. And
what can you, I mean, it's obviously very early days, and I don't really know if, have you sat down, have you watched the fight again?
I haven't actually had a chance to watch the fight yet, but I've seen little clips here and there. And
right. Yeah. Was there anything that stuck into your mind, just having lived the moment, about how you might approach something differently, or how you might double down on something again next time in?
Yeah, I think I definitely feel like I will beat her a lot more convincingly next time round. I do look forward to the rematch, but right now I'm delighted with the victory. I knew it was a fight where I was going to have to show a lot of heart and a great chin, and I knew it was a fight where, as I said, I was going to be in the trenches. I do love a good tear too much, but it was an absolutely phenomenal fight, an edge of the seat type of fight, and I was delighted to come out victorious. Yeah,
and we mentioned it slightly downstairs, but you don't seem too enamoured with the idea of the statue in Bray, no?
I mean, it's a lovely gesture, but I think it's a bit dangerous to put up a statue before somebody dies in case they actually go off the rails. As I said, you don't know what I'm going to do in the future, so.
Yeah, I mean, that way you would have run up and down that track quite a lot throughout your amateur career, and even before. So I mean, if they're going to put it somewhere, I suppose.
Yeah, it really is a nice gesture, that's for sure. But I think I'd be a small bit mortified if you put a statue up. But I'm very humbled by the gesture. That's
well, you have the welcome home thing tomorrow in Bray, is
exactly,
that correct as well?
yeah,
so
yeah.
you get to sort of get it out of your system then.
Exactly. I can't wait to celebrate that tomorrow night with the people who support me throughout the good days and the bad days, and the backing and the support I've had from everyone in the country, even during the Rio Olympics, during the lowest point in my career, has been absolutely amazing, and I'm forever grateful for that.
And just one final one from me. Again, you kind of touched on this a little bit downstairs, but if you've had 14 fights now in 2.5 years, that is a very, very hectic schedule to maintain, going from camp to camp to camp to camp, essentially, with very, very little time off, which you do have a little bit of time off now, thankfully. But once the time off's gone and you're back in the gym and you're getting those creative juices flowing once again, when would you ideally like to come back in? And also, would you like to continue the same momentum of a fight every 4 months or something like this?
Yeah, the next fight I think is going to be maybe September, October sometime, but it's definitely been a busy few months. I don't think I've been home properly in the last 6 months. I had the Rose Vellante fight less than 3 months ago, and I was only home for a few days and straight back into camp then. So it's definitely been very, very hectic, and sometimes that can catch up on you as well. So I definitely am going to take a bit of time off and probably slow down a small bit. Maybe, but
well, no one will be too concerned about that. We think you've earned it at this stage.
Yeah, exactly.
A nice cup of tea or something. Anyway.
that sounds great.
Katie Taylor, thank you so much for your time.
Much. Yeah,
appreciate
thanks
it. Thanks a
Thank
million.
you.